Okay, we're going to be continuing on with the knot tying videos that I'm doing. Okay, we're going to start out again in the figure 9 position, which I've talked about, which is simply just taking one end of the rope and shaping it in sort of a 9 configuration with the working end on top of the standing end. Okay, this is a very simple knot called a square tie. Essentially, we just make a square knot. Everybody knows how to make one of those. Basic knot everybody does. Do that kind of slow. Okay, once we've got that, we then kind of take our standing end and kind of bring it up almost like we're trying to make an identical bite on the other side, which we are trying to do actually. So once you bring that up over here, you actually do want to make an identical looking knot. So all you do is just take your working end and you go under and then back around and through. So you'll actually see right here at the top that that part of the rope is going over the top of the other section. If you were to do that wrong, you would go under here, and it still almost looks like the same thing, but you'll notice that this piece is actually under. See that? While this piece is on top. So that is wrong. If we tie it, cinch it down, you'll notice that that turns into the infamous granny knot, which is the knot everyone should always try to avoid. So the correct way to do it then, we'll start from scratch, just make sure we got it right. From our figure 9, just to make our square knot, bring our standing end over, we go over the top of it, then back around, pull it tight, tie it tight, tight. You'll see the symmetry there. Should be completely symmetrical. And that's our square knot. And that just, it's a pretty secure knot that comes undone easily. It can just be used for really any type of basic cinching down or securing of something, a package, or tying a bundle of wood together or something like that. Okay, now our next one, I mean technically we can start at our figure 9, but it really doesn't need to be done that way. So this one's going to be called the bank robber's hitch or highwayman's hitch. A few different names for it. So we can actually start off like this, but really we just need this type of shape. Now this is the type of knot that in the Old West, bank robbers would tie their horses up to the corral, and there'd be a horizontal log or board, and they would just tie the horse's reins up to it real quick. It was meant for a quick getaway, so they wanted it to be secure enough for the horse to not pull away, but then also be able to just yank it and go, so they didn't have to sit there and untie a knot with the law coming after them. So that's the backdrop to that knot. Okay, so we start out with just this basic setup. Okay, we come under. You gotta be careful because you need a certain amount of rope. So again, from here, we come under, then back around the top of it like that. From under, around the top. Okay. We need a little loop right here, that's important. And then you'll see a little crossbar forms right there. Okay, so once we've got that, then we take our working end, we make another sort of loop. Okay. Trying to work out of the shadows here. We put that through the top loop. And then we just kind of pull our standing end tight. Okay, so there'll just be ultimately one little loop sticking out of the top. Now you can do this kind of quick and sloppy, or if you want to dress it a little, it'll probably hold a little bit better. So you can see I'm pulling on it pretty tight. See, it starts to come undone. You got to really cinch it down. So I'm pulling hard. You'd have to kind of either just yank this incredibly hard. Actually, that almost cinches it down even more. It's possible it can wiggle loose. That's why it's not a solid knot that you would use for like permanent securing of things. But if you do it right and give it a little more slack and dress it, it's not going to come undone. But it's designed to come undone. So all you do is just take this working end, pull it, and it's off. So again, real quick, working end is on the left here. Make a little loop, go behind and over, come up and through. Wow, didn't give myself enough slack there. Cinch that down. Give yourself a little loop up there. As you can see, that's pretty good. Pull on that, it's not coming undone. And then it comes off. So that's a highwayman's hitch. Okay, we'll go right into the next one, which is going to be our figure 8 knots. These are very important. They don't start with the classical figure 9 setup, so you just got to remember to do these differently. So you just fold the rope in half, start from the top end, right in the middle there. Okay, so you just take your finger and you just stick it down in there like this. And you're going to do a full twist counterclockwise. Okay? So you really want to make sure you get that part down. So stick your finger in. And even technically you could go up through it. It doesn't matter as long as you complete the full twist counterclockwise. Okay? Now you can do it the other way, but then everything's reversed. So I'm just teaching you counterclockwise because I'm right-handed and that's the easiest way to do it for me. So we go counterclockwise, a full twist. Since it's a full twist, the left hand end will still be on the left, and that just goes up through the loop from the bottom. Okay, and we pull it. Now, do you see the 8? That's why it's called a figure 8. Okay. Now it's not a true 8 because you've got other pieces coming through, but you need to see that 8 configuration to know you're doing it right. Then you just pull it tight. Now essentially all that does is just kind of put a knot in your rope, which there's purposes for that. You can put knots in your rope just by doing like an overhand, but the figure 8 kind of keeps your rope straighter if you do it like that. So that's why I like it. I would rather use those than overhand knots. Okay, but more importantly, we do the double figure 8. So you just double your rope up, okay? So now we've got 2 sections on each side instead of 1. Okay, that's all we've done, just folded the rope. Same thing, stick our finger there, full twist, okay? The pieces on the left-hand side go, sorry I gotta stay on camera, go up through the hole. Okay, you can still see the 8 in there. Pull that tight, like such. Okay, I'm going to just kind of move this knot upward so you can see the actual intended purpose of this, which is to basically give yourself a loop. So now you have a doubled up section of rope, a nice knot with a loop on the end. So it's very strong. And the figure 8 knot is a real kind of nice symmetrical looking thing here. Looks a lot better than an overhand knot. each end of the rope kind of lay nicely on each other. So I think it's a little bit stronger than just an overhand type style. So you could do this to give yourself a nice loop at the end of a rope and double it up. I've used that on my hammock setup before. And I think we've got time for one more. So it's going to be the butterfly. I don't know if it's a hitch or butterfly knot. Okay. Essentially, same thing as the figure eight, right? Same thing. Do our little twist. Okay. Now, the thing to notice here is how you see the 8 kind of forming already. This part of it, this hole, is going to be what you're going to want to use to make this knot. So remember that, because it'll kind of tend to close like this and you won't see it. So once we've got our figure 8, or once we've got our full twist in, we kind of fold it like this. Okay. This does get a little confusing. Okay. It's hard for me to describe what's going on here, but this part right, this hole, that's what I was referring to earlier. And you see how kind of difficult it is to keep that open. So as we take our top loop and bend it over, it's going to come up through that. Okay? So we can kind of disregard the other parts and just grab that piece and pull it through. Grab our working end and our standing end and just tug that. And it's going to start to kind of create an ugly little knot here. But if we dress it up properly, we'll get a nice symmetrical knot. Okay, and what's really nice about this one, look at how straight each end of the rope is here. We've got a nice loop tied in there, and once the loop's made, it's not adjustable, but you can make that smaller, which you typically do. So now you just have basically a straight piece of rope with a loop sticking out of the top of it. If you were to do something like an overhand, you're going to get this weird bend where it's going to kind of look like this. You know, it's going to be kind of like bent up. And if you pull it tight, it's going to put weird tension on the rope. It's not going to be fully straight. This butterfly gives you a nice straight section with loops in it. This is kind of similar to like a trucker's hitch. And one thing I like about it is you can start, you don't have to use an end to make it. You can just start with a figure 8 just in the middle of the rope. You don't need an end at all because you're just folding it like such and then just pulling it through. Now it kind of looks sloppy when you first do it. That's why you got to take care and set those knots and dress them properly. So you can see one's on the bottom, one's on the top. And there's a ton of different applications for that. Those are climbing knots that, you know, mountain climbers use for rappelling and all of that. We had time for that, so I wanted to show you those. These are a little more complicated than some of the other knots, but I just wanted to throw them out there since we've got time. So I hope you enjoyed the video and found it informative. Thanks for watching.